I want to write a brief description of the trial for the first legal system lynching from memory. When trying to heal from trauma, how the incident is remembered is as important as what actually happened because the trauma lingers on how it is remembered. To start, the police were polite and professional throughout this whole ordeal. I didn't interact with them for long periods of time, but when I did, they treated me with respect. When the plaintiff decided to press charges, I had to go to the police station to get arrested, or they would come to my house. The white male cop who took my fingerprints was nice and professional. I don't remember him looking through my purse, but if he did, it was a quick look. I also remember him telling me he didn't want to handcuff me or make me sit in the jail, so he let me sit outside the cell while he gathered the information he needed. I didn't have any cause to fear a white cop until the second legal system lynching. My lawyers were more of a concern than the police. I had to get a new lawyer because the public defender assigned to me was not trustworthy. She laughed and seemed happy when one of her other clients went crazy and stabbed someone. There was something wrong with that. She also did and said things that hinted she wasn't on my side. She wanted me to admit to the charge and argue that it was self-defense. That doesn't seem strange, but it started to seem that she was more interested in getting me to say that I did it. When she picked up that I was suspicious of her, she tried to give me honey. She pretended to be nice and on my side, but I didn't believe her. This was in the beginning when I had no idea what was happening to me, so I really had no reason to be suspicious of her instead of my gut feeling and some of the things that she said. She told me that I could admit to doing it and see if the judge would accept that it was self-defense. She said this with a shrug, as if she really didn't care if he did or if he didn't. I asked about a trial by jury, and she said that wasn't going to be a good idea because the jury would be made up of locals, and because there was a lot of people of the same ethnicity as the plaintiff around, they would probably be partial to him. This was my first time going through the criminal court system. I didn't know a lot. I looked up trial by jury and found out that the lawyers had a say in who made up the jury. Why didn't she tell me that? Why was she hinting that the jury would be made up of people who would be partial to the plaintiff when she had a say in who was chosen? I decided to get a new lawyer. I would have to pay for one, and I didn't have a lot of money. She eagerly told me that she knew some lawyers who were in my price range and could take my case. I wondered why she was so eager to help me to get a new lawyer and why she thought I would trust her pick. It seemed that she wanted to keep me close at hand, and I knew she would interfere. This happened during the Great Recession. I had finished grad school and was out of work for years. I used up all my savings and was struggling to get by. I finally got a job, but it was in a nearby state. At that time, when you got a job, you took it. There weren't many jobs, so even though I had about a 4-hour commute 5 days a week, I took the job. It paid just enough to cover rent and bills, but not much else. I really couldn't afford a lawyer, but had no choice. I didn't want to get another public defender and go through the same thing since they would probably know each other. I called one lawyer and he let me know I couldn't afford him, but he said he knew someone who would take the job. He gave me the other lawyer's number and I called. The lawyer was willing to work with my budget and I hired him. Of course, I questioned why I should trust a lawyer who was recommended by another lawyer I didn't know, but at that time I was tired from the stress and work and knew it would probably take forever to find a lawyer that I could afford. The lawyer I talked to seemed nice and understanding, and there was no reason for him to screw me over. I wanted to get this case over with and believed in the legal system at the time, so I went along with it. When I met the lawyer, I didn't like him. He seemed dishonest, but I went along and was nice because I was in a desperate situation. I believed he would defend me and the facts would prove I was innocent. It turned out he was no better than the public defender. Sometimes he acted as if he would be a strong defender, the next it seemed he would throw me under the bus. I wasn't being difficult because I had no idea what was happening or what to do. He got really nasty with me a few times, but I ignored it and didn't say anything. I couldn't afford a new lawyer and was worried that switching lawyers so many times would make me look disagreeable and guilty. I remember being in the bathroom one day at the courthouse and overhearing him laughing and joking around in the judge's chambers, which seemed to share a wall with the bathroom. They were talking so loud I actually heard them through the wall. I felt uneasy with him being so chummy with the judge and probably the district attorney, the DA. The DA had given me a warm smile when I first showed up in court with my new lawyer. It seemed that he was reasonable and would be understanding, but it was all deception. I realized too late that was a psychopathic smile because he was going to feast on me. I knew nothing about psychopaths at the time or that they even existed. Psychopath was only a description of someone being mean on purpose. I didn't know psychopath was a personality type or a predator. Fast forward to the trial. The new lawyer started to pick fights with me leading to the court date. It seemed that he was deliberately trying to agitate me, and I thought about getting a new lawyer. By that time, I was stressed out and exhausted. I made too much money for food stamps, but not enough to buy food to eat. I was living off a food budget that was about $10 to $20 a week. I wanted this trial to be over with so I could get rid of this lawyer and put the whole thing behind me. I still trusted in the legal process to prove my innocence. I arrived in the court and the lawyer acted so nice. I don't know what was going on with him. The lawyer had refused to use some of the evidence because he said the judge wouldn't accept it because the images were too blurry. I spent hours getting stills from a video with clearer images to help support my case. When I brought them to the court date, the lawyer said he wouldn't use them or he would think about it. A few days before, he sent me a nasty email and I didn't know how to respond. It threw me off. What was worse, I remembered him saying he would try to agitate some of the people involved on the plaintiff's side days before the trial to throw them off before the trial. So when he did that to me, I felt doomed. At this time, I was tired and stressed. I wanted to be done with this trial no matter what happened. I sat down in an empty courtroom full of pale males, and I was the only female. There was the Spanish boys who falsely accused me, and the rest were white males. I was about to get lynched by the legal system and didn't know it. The Spanish boys didn't speak English but had an interpreter. They essentially had someone who knew English and could speak for them. This interpreter could clean up anything they said and answer as he wanted, and no one would know. I had wanted to ask for a Spanish speaking interpreter on my side to check what their interpreter was saying, but knew this deceptive lawyer wouldn't go for that. He barely asked the plaintiff anything and did some theatrics to try to fool me into thinking he was defending me. I guess he had to try to make it look like he had put forth some effort. I was called to the stand, and by this time I knew that it didn't matter what I said. They were there to find me guilty, and I had no one on my side. Sometime before the trial, I had asked the deceptive lawyer about the Fifth Amendment and if I could use it. He told me that he didn't know what I was talking about and looked confused. I didn't know much at the time, so I thought that I had to take the stand. I told my side of the story and answered a few questions. At some point, the judge stopped the trial abruptly as if I had said something that proved that I did it. There was nothing that I said that proved it, but he acted like it and told me that he thought I was guilty. He gave some weak reason for it, and I refused to argue with him about it because I was the only black person in a room full of white males, even if a few of them were Spanish. The whole thing looked like a farce, and they were having fun tormenting me. The whole case was so ridiculous. I don't know how it got so far. When psychopaths work together, wrongful convictions are possible. That's why I say that wrongful arrests usually lead to wrongful convictions due to legal system collusion. Basically, the DA, police, and judge who would go along with the plaintiff were selected so that there would be no objections or fair trial. They could basically do whatever they wanted because everyone was on board. I could feel the whole room waiting for my reaction, waiting for me to get mad and lash out after all I had been through. But I was too scared and shocked. This trial was a joke, a sadistic joke. They were just playing around with me the whole time, but the consequences were real. I felt violated. This wasn't the fair legal system that I heard of or saw on TV. This was the Kafka courtroom I read about in his book, The Trial. It was surreal. They all had sadistic smirks as if sharing some inside joke. I couldn't believe what was happening. The judge said a few things while I stood there, dazed and confused. The deceptive lawyer turned to me and faked a sincere apology, saying he tried. I held in my rage and asked if I could leave now. He told me I could, and I walked out of there as fast as I could. I went outside and let out a breath. Then I started finding it hard to breathe. I couldn't break down right away because I didn't want anyone to say that I had lost it in public. I waited until I got home and cried my eyes out. I felt so violated. I didn't know what to do or who to tell. It was all so crazy. The days leading up to the trial and everything that was happening was so crazy. The deceptive lawyer called me and I tried to set up a payment plan to give him the rest of his money. He acted like he was sorry he lost the case and told me that I didn't have to pay him. I wanted to pay him so he couldn't say that he was nice to me, but I really couldn't afford to pay him off right away and I really wanted to end any communication with him, so I thanked him and hung up. I got angry thinking about what happened and looked up places that I could report the lawyer and tell someone what happened to me in hopes that I could get a fair trial. I sent copies of the nasty email and explained what happened to some lawyer review board. I'm not sure which one exactly. Around Christmas Day, I got a letter from them saying that they didn't think he did anything wrong even though he failed to let me know of my Fifth Amendment rights. I sent complaints to another agency that dealt with trials that went wrong or mistrials, but I don't think I ever heard from them or they didn't deal with cases like mine. I don't remember right now. There I was with a wrongful conviction from an unfair trial where I was set up to fail. I never talked about it again. I was too ashamed and embarrassed to tell anyone I knew. It all sounded crazy, and since the lawyer review agency said they didn't find anything wrong with what the lawyer did, I felt no one else would believe me. I had to pay a fine and stay out of trouble for about a year. After that, the case was done. I never really recovered from it because I never talked about it. All these years, I was careful in everything so that this wouldn't happen again and I could clear my name someday. Now that there is another legal system lynching, I can't be quiet and have to tell what happened to me. I am not in the best health, and all that has happened has taken a toll on me. I don't know what will happen to me this time or what the stress and anxiety will do to my health. Wrongful arrests and wrongful convictions cause trauma and takes a toll on the innocent person that they were inflicted on. It's easy for the judges, lawyers, and police to run someone through a corrupt legal system, but the whole process can be taxing on an innocent person and can lead to serious health issues, even death. I'm not suicidal or homicidal. I'm worried that the same thing that happened last time will happen again. This time, I don't know how far they will take it.